Well, we find ourselves in northern Indiana, about centrally located in the state, in a very, very special town, midway between Elkhart, Indiana, and Napanee, Indiana. A little town, I can't mention the name, but it sounds like Macarusa. And we are in the RV history delivery business for transporters. We are in a sacred place. This is the home of probably the greatest transport company ever designed and started. You see, ages ago, a young couple started delivering RVs for the factories around Elkhart, realizing that Elkhart, Indiana, is the heart of RV mass production. They produce 85% of all the RVs produced in the world are manufactured within 50 miles of Elkhart, Indiana. And we're about 12 miles south of Elkhart right now. So these two people, husband and wife, started a company, very religious people actually, and a God-fearing company, and honesty and integrity and loyalty and good timing and honest deliveries were their standard. They formed probably the greatest theoretical transport company ever thought of. When you talk to the old drivers, the original drivers, and I've talked to several of them, it was the greatest thing. The company treated you with great respect. They paid you a very, very fair rate, plus you got all the perks that came with it, any extras like rooms or meals or anything like that. And they will tell you flat out, in the original days, you made piles of money, hand over fist. Everything didn't always go smoothly. It never will in the delivery business, but the company worked with you, and between you and the company, you'd get stuff delivered reliably and get it all settled out. Well, the company grew, and it grew, and it grew to one of the largest delivery companies for RVs in the world. And it went on with the same morals and the same guideline as they started out with. And the drivers, you couldn't ask for happier drivers. Now, the dad got sick, and Mr. and Mrs., I can't say their name, but it sort of sounds a lot like KROC. Mr. KROC got sick and passed away, and Mrs. KROC had her son come in. I can't mention his name, but it sounds a lot like Harrion KROC came in to help her run the company. So he eventually went and worked her down in the company until finally he took over the company and started to run it. Well, he ran it as efficiently as possible and squeezed out pretty much Mom, to the point later in the time he moved her office into the closet in the office space. But anyway, because Harrion was raised riding a silver spoon, if you know what I mean, he had no idea what it felt like to actually earn a living and work for anything or build anything. So he is living proof that money gives you flexible morals, to the point where he started taking money in hand over fist, left and right, unbelievable amounts of money, but didn't pay it out to the drivers. The drivers just kept getting less and less and less for more and more deliveries. And finally, I worked for them, unfortunately, way too long. But I figured out that they had it down to the plan where a driver's not going to make any more than about $150 a day for the days they drive. And sometimes you only drive 1 or 2 days a week, if you're lucky. So that $150 a day out on the road with expenses doesn't amount to too much. But the drivers, according to Harrion, And he stated this to the companies that manufacture that wanted more units delivered per month. He said, it's absolutely no problem. Drivers are a dime a dozen. And in his world, that's absolutely true. They are a dime a dozen. Now the runners, people who will deliver without damage and without stealing stuff and just run anything on the board, they're very rare. And there's just, you can count them on one hand. But over the ages, this company went and, this company over time kept all the perks and kept their drivers pretty much starved down to $150 a day, regardless of what they were hauling. Now here's a perfect example. That other one was a drive-away with a haul and tow behind them. This is a perfect example of a haul and tow. People who don't drive the vehicles, there's no motors, they just move them with their own truck. So this is a beautiful trailer and beautiful units on it that are going to be delivered somewhere. But this company had a chance. If they'd have kept up the morals and the scruples of the parents, they had a chance of building the finest transport company in the world, and with starving the drivers out so that they came and went to the tune of over 12,000 drivers have been through this company, come and gone, and just crappy deliveries, or they don't know what they're doing, they don't educate them well. They just send them out there to the wolves and burn them up. But it is a shame because they had the chance to make the finest company in the world, and they went for the money. And as you drive around this town, there's just RVs everywhere. Now as I turn this corner, if you look off to the right, you'll see RVs in every stage of manufacturing. And off straight ahead also RVs, and I'm telling you, they're lined up in all different stages. These look like they're about finished and ready to be delivered. Now you can see to the right, some of these have not been painted, so obviously they're right on the edge of a paint shop. But we're talking rows and rows of RVs. But here, if you can see it off in the distance, are the caps and the tail ends of RVs. And we'll go down this row. Now understand, we're not even in Elkhart, Indiana. This is still 20 miles south of there, but this is one of the RV factories. And it looks like they're building good-size motorhomes. Now these are all probably $500,000 to $1 million, $500,000 to $1 million, somewhere in there. Not quite $1 million. But here, if you look on the other side of the fences, are the frame and the platform they're going to put these RVs on. I hope you can see them with the sunlight. I'll try to get a little bit different angle to them. But you can see they're lined up, ready to roll. Give you a better idea right here of the frames, and you can see the RVs in the background. So that's the frame of an RV that hasn't been built yet. There's the motor, all set to go. So way off in the distance are frames ready to put in, and RVs waiting to be shipped. So pretty much as far as the eye can see in 4 directions, and we aren't even at Elkhart. We're still 20 miles below at one of the factories, and this looks like final paint and getting ready for delivery. And here we have the frames lined up, getting ready to be manufactured. Now to finish the story, I remember I told you I worked for Harry and KROC for too long. and I needed to go to places that I was going delivering the RVs, so I put up with all the ins and outs of RV delivery. He hired a man, I can't mention his name, but it sounds like Bark P. I guess he would be the Nazi safety man in the world, because he will tell you all day long that if there's damage to that coach, he is the best friend a driver has. That is the farthest thing from the truth that you've ever heard in your life. Because this man, if anything happens to that coach, trust me, this is from experience, he falls on the side of the company first, then on the side of the customer, then on the side of the driver. So he, without even losing any sleep, takes your $1,000 escrow away from you immediately. You might as well just hand it over the minute you call Bark P, because he is never going to fall in on your side. He is not your friend, regardless of how many times he tells you he's the best friend you have in a pinch. They stole from me after I did them a favor in Daytona. I delivered a unit only supposed to go 100 miles. It kept throwing serpentine belts on a big Cummins diesel. And I was going to deliver it just 100 miles to the dealer. I pulled it out of the Cummins dealer, and I didn't get 10 miles down the road, and it threw the serpentine belt overheated. I called the company. They sent a wrecker out. The wrecker came out. The guy signed the bill of lading for it, took it to the took it to the repair shop, and in the process, he bottom-ended, because he raised the thing too high when he went through a driveway, and bottom-ended and scratched up the front end to the tune of about $4,000. They blamed that on me. I wasn't anywhere within 15 miles of that coach when it happened. But they said I should have followed that coach all the way to the repair shop after the guy signed for it. The tow company wouldn't admit to it. They said it was like that when they picked it up. I had pictures and videos of him picking that coach up and the condition it was in. Didn't make any difference. They smiled at me and said, nope, your $1,000 is gone. The thing I guess they don't realize is that they intentionally stole money from a Native American holy man. Intentionally. So what they have in essence done is, for the future, Bark P and Harry KROC have poisoned their seed for the future. So whatever money they get, they'll never live to enjoy it, as their seed is permanently poisoned. Hate to put it that way, but that's just the way it is. On to the next.